All right, this is William Siebler from The Marketing Mentor, and today I've got with me Mark Swain, who is an expert in complex sales. Welcome, Mark.
Great to be with you, William.
Terrific. Now, Mark's agreed to have a chat to us today and share some different tips. He has expertise in selling expensive things into big organisations, which can be a very difficult area. So what is it that you love about the sort of work that you do, Mark?
Well, I really love getting great outcomes for customers and, working with sales teams to get them working at a really high level to deliver great value for customers. And, ultimately, if there's no sales in a business, there's no business. So I've been working in this field for 25, 30 years. It's a passion of mine. And I just love, helping people and seeing them get results and seeing them flourish.
And I know that this is a newer sort of part of your career. So what have you done and what led you to this point of having your business?
Oh, well, it's been a long journey. I actually started out in sales, believe it or not, demonstrating hi-fi systems on the high street. So dealing with consumers and, used to put the music on and demonstrate to them and put the Simply Red CD in at the time. And it was just always wonderful watching people listening to the music and, comparing which speakers are better than other ones. And that was really the start. I really started out at the bottom, just on the high street dealing with the general public. And that business expanded into computers. I kind of learned about the computer industry, and I ended up leading, the internal telesales team there. And I then set up my own business in computers, and which supplied components to people in the trade during the build your own computer phase. And that was kind of when having a startup wasn't quite so cool. And then I got into financial services through American Express Travel into financial services, then ANZ. So I've kind of done the full loop from selling, £199 stereos up to $10 billion takeover transactions.
Now that's an interesting background. Would you say that there are common elements to selling between all those different areas? Are there things that you would see are common across selling?
I think you've always got to have, one of my big quotes is focus on the customer, not on the sale. And it's probably one of the big mistakes I made during a large part of my career, to be honest. I was always focused on, I wanted to achieve my targets. I wanted to achieve my goals. I've had to carry targets for, a long time. And certainly that focus on the customer is such a critical element, and it doesn't matter what you're selling. Really having a genuine care for the outcomes for the customer is crucial. So that is definitely very important.
Yes, and you're absolutely right there. And that sounds simple, and in one sense it is, but because it's simple, it gets overlooked. And I see this all the time. I look at things from a different perspective. I look at things like the copy on a website or how the title someone gives themselves on their LinkedIn profile. And I think, hang on, who's that about? Is that about you or is that about your client? And it has to be obviously about the client, which is something you obviously know really well. What are a few, if you were to give sort of 3 general tips in order for someone to be a bit more successful in selling, because we all do it. Anyone in business is selling, whether they think they are or not, you have to do it. What would be 3 tips that you might give?
I think you've got to have the focus on the customer. You've got to have a sales process. You have to have a discipline. You can't just wing it and go, try things or trial and error. You really need to have a process that you can follow. And you've got to be really ruthless with your time. It's easy in bigger companies to get sucked into internal meetings. It's easy to get distractions, get off on your phone and start browsing social media. So I'd say customer focus, sales process discipline, and time management. If you can get those three working, you're definitely going to move the needle.
I think you're right. I think if you do those three things, you're going to separate yourself from everyone else. It's a really good point. The distractions point, I mean, distractions are almost like an epidemic. It's just so easy, even just emails and things. People feel as though they have to constantly check email. Well, not really.
Exactly. And particularly during this period of COVID-19 where people are working from home, you know, it's a lot easier to get distractions. It's a lot easier to have interruptions, people working from the spare bedrooms. So, you know, I would definitely say, even if you get very intense for certain periods of time and get clear on what you want to get done, you know, I want to make 10 calls before I have that coffee, and start doing that, you'll definitely be moving forward.
Yeah, that's an interesting way, is to program in like a little mini reward for yourself with something you may not want to do, but you go, okay, well, I'm just going to do this and I can have a coffee. Or sometimes I'll just go and watch a song I like on YouTube. So I'll say, look, get this done, and just go and play a 5-minute, one of your favorite videos on YouTube, and then go back to your next task. Because you can't be using your brain the whole time. It just gets
well,
fried.
exactly, and particularly with the barrage of news that we're getting at the moment, and you know, you kind of need to step away. And you know, I make a point of going for a walk a couple of times a day, just turn the phone off, get into nature, look at the water, and it kind of grounds you again, so you're then ready to go again.
Absolutely. So how long would you say rather, that it takes someone to become proficient or skilled in sales? How long do you think it would take?
Oh, well, I mean, I think that they say it takes 10,000 hours to become, you know, a high level at something. And, you know, I don't still confess to be an expert. I always feel like I'm still learning, and you can always constantly improve. But I would say, I mean, with my transform sales process that I've built, which I know is kind of, it works, it's systemized. I think it would have taken me 20 years to actually build that, you know, to the level it's at, because I literally went back and deconstructed all of my failures over the years, all of the transactions that didn't work. And trust me, I've had lots of them. You know, I've had so many errors and deals that I've lost, but I've always tried to learn from each one. And you know, I'm not saying it takes you 20 years to really nail it, but it will take time. And, you know, also it's important to invest in learning. I mean, I see sales as a profession. And just like accountants or, you know, IT engineers, they need to constantly be skilling up on the latest technologies. Salespeople and people in business development do. Obviously, you know, yourself at the cutting edge of digital marketing and all the new things going on, it's constantly changing. So we need to have lifelong learning as well.
Absolutely. I think that's a key point, is if you don't keep learning, you can quickly fall behind. There might be some things that, you know, stay the same. You may find this in sales. I certainly find it in marketing. The basic psychology of people hasn't altered. So people still want to, you know, they want to increase their status. They want to keep their health. They want to look after their family. They want to have success romantically and all those sort of things. So those basic psychology hasn't changed.
Yes.
The way they go about it's changed dramatically. But there are principles. But if you don't know the new ways that people are doing it, then you can't participate in those areas. You miss out on a lot of opportunities. So that's a good point. I wanted to ask you about your system. Because I'm a big believer in systems, and over time you do develop your own framework and intellectual property that can save someone a lot of time. So could you tell me a little bit about the system that you use, and just give the context in terms of the clients that you're most focused on?
Sure. Well, the system's called Transform, and it really is a logical step-by-step sales process to win big transactions faster. And during my career at some of those big companies that I've mentioned, I'd been on all of the kind of courses, and you went along and you took your opportunity, and there were these different courses, but I never really got showed a step-by-step process. You know, what do you actually do when you're given a territory or you're given a sales role? What do you actually do from the initial targeting of clients the research and how you approach them to uncovering their needs, right the way through to managing the business you've won. And I termed the program Transform because every letter is a clear step-by-step process of what you do to follow to win transactions successfully. And, you know, that program is used by big banks around the world, big, you know, technology companies, software companies, and also individuals. We get individuals who are investing in their own learning and development that just go onto our online course and go through the videos, the self-teach methods, and the case studies there. So it's, you know, it's a product that is available in online, well, physical versions when we can get together. But yes, it's very practical. I like to think of myself as a simple guy. So I've developed something that is step by step, that's really deconstructed what I did over my career and what I've learned. And I've tried to build it in something that works. And it's really working really well for customers.
That's terrific. I mean, it is so much easier for someone to have a step-by-step process to follow, rather than go and figure it out on your own. And you've got, you know, that 20-year learning curve. One thing I was interested in knowing, can you give me an example of, without breaking any confidentiality or anything of that nature, someone you've worked with and sort of, you know, what they were doing beforehand, and then once they went through this transform process, what was the difference and the outcome that they achieved?
I'm just thinking back. I mean, I did a virtual workshop with a team at Natural Power Solutions just last week. Actually, they're one of the leading power supply infrastructure UPS suppliers across Australia and New Zealand, and they get a lot of inquiries that come in through digital marketing and leads that come in through Google advertising, and you know, a lot of quotes are sent out and go into the pipeline and then are being chased up. But the conversion rates were not where they could be. So I work with the managing director of that company and their sales team, and we are embedding the transform steps. So one of the important steps, because this company were getting inquiries coming straight to them, they go straight to the N of transform. They're going straight to the needs assessment because they're not having to do the targeting, the research, or the approach. So we have engineered that needs assessment where the sales team are really finding out about the project, what's involved, where it's being installed, why the UPSs are needed, and really getting into the detail of that. So this business is actually sending proposals to real opportunities. And as a result, they're actually sending less proposals, but winning more business.
Okay, so that's a terrific outcome, because just that focusing of resources. I've worked in corporates in the past, and there is so much waste of everything: time, money, effort. So that's a really important outcome. What is one of the common mistakes that you see people make in this area of selling, you know, complex high-ticket items to big companies? What's a common
common problem? I'd say the biggest one I come across is actually selling too early. And going in there, having the needs assessment, and then issuing a proposal. And often what many businesses see are deals stuck in decision pending, going nowhere. Many of us, we've all sat in these sales meetings where people are talking about the deals, they're stuck, they're stalled, they're going nowhere. And that is one of the big challenges that I see, is people trying to sell too early. And an important step in the transform process is actually the S. It's the point of summarizing back to the client your understanding of where they're trying to go and what they're trying to achieve before any proposal is issued. So I would certainly say that sending proposals too early is probably one of the biggest problems I see, which then has all the associated knock-on impacts of management chasing you up for deals that are stored in the pipeline. Where are things at? And it creates a whole load of administration on, in reality, what are really not probably true opportunities or true transactions.
That's a really important tip for people to avoid. I know we had a conversation the other day, and we talked a little bit about pitching in meetings. And I wonder if you want to tell a little bit about that story, the one that basically people had the limited time to go in and pitch, because I thought that was it really illustrates a common problem. I've sat in the meetings and I've seen that from a client perspective. I wonder if you might want to share that story. I thought that was a good story.
Oh, well, it was a transaction I was working on, in the past, and I've certainly heard examples of this before, where many companies, and particularly big companies, they spend the first 30 minutes of the presentation explaining about their rewards, their credentials, or who the team is. And in this particular instance, the team only had 1 hour to nail their pitch, to nail their benefits for the client. And the problem was that the first 30 to 35 minutes was actually spent on people introducing themselves, and the regional head was in, the global head was in, the country head was in, this product specialist was in. All these long introductions, which really is not of any benefit to the client. How are you going to make the money or save the money? And they basically didn't get the chance to finish their pitch because the time was up, and the next competitor, the next potential provider came in to showcase what they had. So I think the golden message there is, don't spend lots of time waffling on about how great you are and introducing all of the important people in your business. Get straight down to explaining what you can do to help the customer.
Absolutely. And I know from marketing, the first thing that you've got to do is to get someone's attention and interest. If you don't get that early on in the meeting, they'll start playing with their phones, they'll drift off, they'll think about something else that's pressing.
Yes.
You can lose them so quickly. So that's a really good point. So the next thing I'd like to ask you, what's one activity that someone could do to sort of stay on top of their development in this area of sales? What's a daily or a weekly activity that someone could do?
I think you've always got to be curious. You've always got to be learning new things. I probably read about 10 books a week. So I'm quite an avid reader on all the latest things that are happening in terms of, revenue generation, actually, because I believe without revenue, there's nothing. Without business, there's nothing. So I'd say certainly lifelong learning, and, invest in your own development, invest in learning from people that have done things before, and constantly be seeking to improve and get better, and find new ways of doing things, because the world is moving really fast, as we all know. And I think you have to constantly be curious and focusing on your own development and improvement.
I think that's terrific advice. I'm an avid reader like you, although I don't think I hit 10 books a week. I certainly hit 3 or 4 books a week. But I'm constantly amazed at how many people haven't read a book.
Yes.
Doesn't matter to me whether it's physical, Kindle, audio, really doesn't matter. But there is some incredible information out there. There's also a fair bit of rubbish, but
yes.
Particularly in the sales field, there's a lot of people who've been doing sales for decades, had enormous success. They're putting all their expertise in a little book for you. Absolutely. It's a great point to do that. So where can people find you? I know that you've got your website, which is markswain.com.au. So it's Mark Swain, SWAIN.com.au. Is that the best place?
Yes, you can certainly find me there. If people go onto the insights page there's a whole load of sales examples, stories, and learnings that they can get and read through. We've got some free tools on there. There's a free sales plan. There's a free 9-step guide that people can get. So they can get some really good information on the site. I've got some videos there too. So yeah, people can email me through there. They can contact me on LinkedIn or through Facebook. I've got a YouTube channel. So yeah, you know, I'm always looking to help people and help people win these big transactions faster and get more efficient. And particularly during this time, I'm really trying to help people out. So just contact me in the method that suits the people watching.
Yeah, I love that. Look, it's been terrific to chat to you. Did you have any closing thoughts or anything else that you'd like people to know?
I just think I'd say, you know, it's a tough time for a lot of people out there at the moment. You know, sales is not as easy as it has been in the past. And this is a time where people need to be sharpening their skills and getting that more discipline to their process and getting a lot more professional and tighter about the way they do things, because deals will not be dropping in people's lap like they have been before. Take time, you know, get away from social media, take time to step back and think about the important things in life. And I think stay safe and, you know, smile at people, you know, let's all smile at each other. It doesn't take much to do that. And sometimes you've got to just step back and appreciate how lucky we are.
Absolutely. That is a wonderful note, I think, to finish the conversation on. So I'd like to thank Mark. So you can contact Mark Swain through his website, markswain.com.au, or you'll find him on the usual social channels. My name's William Siebler, the Marketing Mentor, and we've been chatting with Mark Swain, and we hope you got some terrific value and ideas about how to improve your sales. I know that I have. Thanks again, Mark.
Thank you very much.